Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone joining us today. In a few minutes, we will get started, but first I want to cover some housekeeping items for today's webinar. Everyone has been muted. If you have a question, please ask it in the question window of the GoToWebinar. We will try to get to every question either individually or aloud during the Q&A session at the end. Once the presentation begins, sometimes people have issues seeing the slides advance. If that happens to you, just close the webinar and then rejoin. That usually fixes things. We are recording today's session and we'll share a link with you after the webinar. It takes about a week for it to be available and posted on YouTube. So we are ready to get started with today's session. Joining us today is Jyoti Gupta, Senior Manager with Trailhead. Over to you, Jyoti.
All right, thank you. Hi, good morning and good afternoon and good evening to all of you. Thank you so much for joining. Today's webinar is titled Supercharge Your Skills with Superbadges. And my name is Jyoti Gupta and I'll be speaking with you today. I am a Senior Manager for Team Trailhead, and if you want to connect with me, you can always connect with me on Twitter. So my Twitter handle is there, and just keep in mind that the underscore is 2 underscores, not one long one. It's 2 underscores in between my first name and my last name. And if you connect with me, I will give you a like. I'm a very generous clicker of the like button in Twitter, so it's good to have friends. All right, let's get started discussing supercharging your skills with Superbadges. And let's see if my computer will advance the screen. There we go. So this is our Salesforce world famous forward-looking statement slide. And as you know, this slide is meant to help you understand that we would like for you to make purchasing decisions based on what is available in Salesforce products today. So if I make forward-looking statements about the future of Trailhead or Salesforce, please don't use those in consideration of the purchases that you'll be making today or in the near future. All right, so we always start with gratitude. So Salesforce has this wonderful Ohana culture, and we love to bring our customers and our community into it. So the first thing we like to tell people is our appreciation. So we want to just say thank you. And in this case, what we're thanking you for is basically for everything. And so we want to thank you for we want to thank our Trailblazers and all of our customers out there. And we want to thank you for the Trailblazer stories that you share with us. So I can personally say that as someone who's been writing content for Team Trailhead for a while, hearing you guys respond to the content that we put out there is really gratifying. It's one of the reasons why we do our jobs. So, and you probably don't know this, but we will share links about people getting excited about our content. We have all of these like happy story posts that we do internally. We do it in Slack as well. So you don't really probably know how much you make us happy with your stories, but they definitely do. So we want to thank you for telling us your stories and sharing the stories with us. So as mentioned before, we are going to take questions. And so if you want to ask questions, go ahead and put them in the chat window, and then we will kind of do a moderated discussion through that. And then also, if you haven't already created an account on our Trailblazer community, go ahead and do so at your leisure. You can do this on your phone, or you can do this on your computer, and you can do it while I'm speaking, so that's fine too. We have a Trailblazer community group, and if you go to sfdc.co/Trailhead community, you will be directed to that group. You'll have to log in, and you want to choose either a social login or your Trailhead org login, and you can log in and get to our Trailblazer community, and we'll be monitoring questions there as well. Okay. Also, since we are a social company, as you know, we are very active on Twitter, on Facebook, and other social sites as well. What we would love to do is hear your feedback, and that feedback can be good, bad, anything. We just want the feedback. So one of the coolest places to get connected with us is on Twitter. And so if you connect with us on Twitter and you follow us at Trailhead, so the Twitter handle is at Trailhead, or you can use the hashtag Trailhead to find posts about us. That would be a really great way for you to send us your feedback. Also, you could just find out what's going on with Team Trailhead. We're always doing something fun and interesting. We have challenges. Right now, the Halloween challenge is going on, and we have this cute little emoji icon that you can get. So definitely recommend that if you are excited about Twitter in general to follow us at Trailhead. Also, we're on Facebook. Facebook is where we post a lot of our stories. So if you want to know what's happening with Trailhead in more of a long-form nature, please go ahead and connect with us on Facebook. And then finally, we have a Trailhead account on Medium, which is where we post our blogs. And I really encourage you to get connected to that form of communication because you can start to get a little bit more information. So Trailhead on Twitter is 140 characters or 280 characters, but on Medium, we get to kind of do long-form communication with you, and so you'll get to hear more insights and more in-depth details on some of the things that we need you to hear about. So, for instance, account linking for your Trailhead accounts, or what is Trailblazer.me, or what are some of the new innovations coming to Trailhead. Those are all a little bit easier to read about in kind of a long form on our Medium site. So go ahead, and while we're doing this broadcast, go ahead and connect with us in all those different ways. And again, if you want to connect with me, I am JYOTI__GUPTA on Twitter. And I don't do Facebook because I'm just not that cool. To be honest, I'm just not that cool. All right. All right, so about me, aside from the fact that I'm not cool enough to be on Facebook, as I've mentioned before, I'm a senior manager for Team Trailhead. I've been at Salesforce for 6 years, and I've done a variety of different tasks. And so some of you might have experienced my content. So if you've taken Dev 450 or Dex 450, that's my content. My team's content is also in Dex 601, Dex 701, which is the new Heroku course. And then my team has also produced a lot of Superbadges as well. And so now I am in the credentialing department. So I work on Superbadges almost exclusively, and I also work on technical credentials such as Platform Developer 1, Platform Developer 2, and the CTA program. Another fun fact about me right now is that I am in Red Sox Nation, literally. So I live in Boston, and I work remotely. And I would just have to say that I'm very tired these days because I've sat through 18-inning World Series games in the last week, and I now have to start watching the Patriots and the Celtics and the Bruins. So it's a tough life out here in Boston for us sports fans. The last thing I would tell you about myself is you may be hearing some like crazy like pattering noises and noises that sound like I'm in a zoo. And that is true. I am kind of in a zoo right now. I have been a foster parent for animal shelters for at least 20 years now. And right now I have a stack of kittens. I have 6 kittens and their mom, and it is playtime. So you will hear crashing, little feet pattering, lots of meows, and it's okay. I'm okay. I just want you to know that I'm not under attack. I'm okay. It's just how they are. Okay, so for today, what we're doing is we are going over Superbadges. So what we're going to do today is I am going to give you a tour of Superbadges and tell you a little bit about what they are, how to find them, what they mean to you in terms of your job search and to your resume. And so hopefully at the end of the day, you'll have an understanding of how Superbadges can enhance your career. All right, so we're going to start with an overview of Trailhead. And what I would encourage you to do is actually get on your phone or get on another computer or open another browser screen and just go to trailhead.salesforce.com. So again, that's trailhead.salesforce.com. And that way, as I'm discussing things on this screen, you can kind of see them on your screen as well. And then I also encourage you to kind of try out the mobile experience because we are looking for feedback on how we can improve the mobile experience as well. So simply stated, Trailhead is our fun way to learn. So when you're on the site, you can learn skills related to your Salesforce career. And as you're learning, you're also earning. And what I mean by earning is that the Trailhead learning journeys are all gamified. So just to give you a little motivational boost to keep you on track, as you are going through the content on Trailhead, you are earning points, and then you're also earning status. So that will help you kind of keep motivated. I went from, I think, adventurer to ranger in 2 years, and that I have to say as a Salesforce employee is, and someone who works for Trailhead is a little bit pathetic, but I went through the last phases of it, which was expeditioner to ranger in about 3 weeks. I finally got motivated and I got really excited about all those points. And so I just sat down and over 3 weeks from November to December, Thanksgiving to Christmas, I knocked out my Trailhead Ranger status. So I highly encourage you to take a look at the gamification system that sits behind Trailhead. We can also, on Trailhead, connect. So one of the things that we always talk about at Salesforce is Ohana. And that Ohana isn't just limited to Salesforce employees. We never think of it that way. We always include our Trailblazer community in our Ohana. And one of the best ways to connect with us is on our Trailblazer community. And you can get to that community using the Trailhead website. So again, thank you. Like we always say, we're very appreciative of our Trailblazers and our community. Y'all sustain us, and we do this work for you, and that work is really rewarding. So at Trailhead, we are astonished every day. We have an org that kind of spits out information about how many people are achieving Superbadges, what badges are being earned, and what content people are consuming on Trailhead. And it's astonishing. So every day we get some statistics, and we can see the incredible work that you and our other Trailblazers are doing in Trailhead. And so we're very excited and very appreciative that y'all have done the work to achieve over 10 million badges in under 4 years. Now, what we are beginning to see is that your hard work, all those 10 million badges, have begun to pay off. So we have heard from you that you're using the skills that you gained and the knowledge that you gained on Trailhead to achieve new heights with your career. And y'all have told us that Trailhead and the badges that you've earned and the super badges that you've earned and the work that you've done on Trailhead has led to promotions and to raises. So for that, I just want to say congratulations. Way to turn free education into something that is tangible and meaningful. Okay. Okay, let's see. Let me see. Why isn't this advancing? Hang on. Oh, it's an animation. Sorry. All right, so what is a Trailhead Superbadge? So next what we're going to talk about is of all the content types that are available, and there's several different content types that you can work through on Trailhead, there is one that is called a Superbadge. And so if you're following along on your phone, in a browser, or on a computer, what you want to do is go to trailhead.salesforce.com, and in the top nav bar on Trailhead, you'll see a drop down that says Credentials. I want you to click on that little button that says Credentials, and you'll see in the menu that pops up, you'll see an option for Superbadges, and I want you to go ahead and click on that. So again, you can do this on your phone, and you can do that on your desktop as well. All right, so what is a Superbadge? A Superbadge is like a word problem. So what I like to think of this when I start writing my Superbadges is I think of like the time when they tried to teach you algebra and they put that X in front of you and no one knew what the X meant. So we all kind of like grinded through it, figured out what that X was. But then once they gave you a word problem, it started to make a little bit more practical sense. So, for example, Maria has 10 apples, but she needs 15 in total. How many more does she need? That would be what I would consider a word problem. And that's basically what a Superbadge is. It is the adult version of a word problem. And each Superbadge is a fairly complex Salesforce implementation scenario. So these are meant to be challenging and more difficult than most of the other content types that you'll see on Trailhead, and that is, of course, deliberate and purposeful. And in a Superbadge, you are challenged with implementing that scenario in an org. And the kicker is that we're not going to tell you how to implement the solution. So you might have gone through a Trailhead project and you may be familiar with this idea that we tell you exactly what to click and then you go click it and then you go click, 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 and then you hit check challenge and you're done with that project. A Superbadge is a totally different affair. And what we do is we give you a chance to prove to yourself that you know how to implement certain types of business solutions using Salesforce features and functionality. So as an example, if you're on the Superbadge site, you can click on the Einstein Analytics Data Preparation Specialist Superbadge. This is one of our most recent ones. I think it is our second most recent Superbadge. And you can read through the scenario. So in this scenario for this Superbadge, you are going to help out a nonprofit, which is a fictitious nonprofit. It has a seed bank, and in that seed bank, to implement the seed bank, they have a lot of data. So they have climate data, for instance, what kind of weather is in this country, and does that country support the growing, for instance, of an avocado seed? And if it did support the growing of an avocado seed, how much yield per hectare can we get? So there's a lot of data and analytics that actually goes into the implementation of the seed bank. And what we have you do in that Data Prep Specialist Superbadge is get all of this data prepared and into Salesforce in a way that Einstein Analytics can then use it. And again, we'll give you hints and clues, but we won't give you the step-by-step instructions. And that's the same for all of our 12 Superbadges. So think of them as a chance to test out your implementation skills using Salesforce Tech, but not as an opportunity to have someone hand you the step-by-step instructions on how to do this implementation job. All right, so remember when I had you navigate to the Superbadge site on Trailhead? I had you go first to Trailhead, and then on Trailhead, in that main nav bar, you'll notice that you actually don't see the word Superbadges. And that's because the way that you get navigationally to Superbadges is through our credentialing menu. So we consider a Superbadge to be a form of a credential. We want to reward you for your hard work. So we know you're putting in a ton of hard work to achieve these Superbadges, and we believe that the work that you're doing essentially demonstrates to us that you are worthy of a credential in the domain that that Superbadge is having you do your work. So we also believe very strongly, and this is part of what drives every person in Team Trailhead, is that we really strongly are committed to this idea of education at scale. And in that vein of providing education at scale, we also want to provide credentials at scale. So we don't want you to have to go to an expensive university. We don't want you to have to incur student debt. That's not what our goal is. We want you to be job ready with valid skills using a free website. And in addition to that, we want those credentials to start to become at scale as well. So we want you to be able to achieve a credential from the comfort of your own home and also at your own pace. And so in that regard, we think we've probably struck a note with you guys because we've seen a lot of happiness from you. And the year-over-year growth in Superbadge achievement has just been phenomenal. So some months I've seen it hit 600% month over month, but in general, year over year, we've achieved a 200% growth in credentials. And again, when I say we, I really just mean you, because y'all did the work. Okay, so now I think I've convinced you to spend some time getting invested into Superbadges. They're a great learning experience, and they're also a credentialing experience. So what I want you to do is go ahead, and if you're following along on our website and you're on the Superbadge site, so trailhead.salesforce.com, click on Credentials, click on Superbadges, click on the one that's called Business Administration Specialist. And this one is fairly typical of the experience that you are going to have with all of the Superbadges. You'll notice that all Superbadges have a little locked or unlocked button, and that is to tell you whether or not you've achieved the prerequisite badges that you need in order to, and I'm using air quotes, unlock the Superbadge. So we need for you to have a prerequisite set of knowledge skills or intellectual skills before you start on your Superbadge, and therefore we attach to every Superbadge a set of prerequisite skills. So those prerequisite skills, again, you can gain by achieving the prerequisite badges on Trailhead. So once you achieve those prerequisite badges, then you can start working on the Superbadge itself. The way that goes is you will start by reading through the business challenge. So again, that word scenario that I was talking about. And we'll tell you what piece of the challenge you need to do first. So even though there's this enormous business problem, this complex business problem that you have to solve, we are going to tell you stepwise, first do this chunk, then do that chunk, and then do the next chunk. So we have you build the solution in chunks. And usually the number of chunks is somewhere between 4 to 10 chunks, depending on how complex the Superbadge is. And once you implement each chunk, then you will click the check challenge button. And before you can move on to the next challenge, you have to have successfully passed the first one. So we're trying to fence against the situation where you get all the way to the 7th challenge in a Superbadge and you realize you did the first one wrong. So we try to give you a little break there. And sometimes we also will throw in a quiz or two. So sometimes we throw in a multiple choice quiz. It's pretty rare, but you will see multiple choice quizzes in Einstein, Analytics Data Prep Specialist, and one other one, which might actually be Business Administration Specialist as well. Okay, so let's say that you have achieved a Superbadge, and I will tell you that I just ended up speaking to a few people who have achieved all 12 Superbadges, which is literally hundreds of hours worth of work. So congratulations to those who have achieved Superbadges. Once you do that, what we would like for you to do is to first create a Trailhead vanity URL if you haven't. And again, this is something that you can do while we're on this webinar. Just log into your Trailhead account, and on your profile page, you can apply for a vanity URL. And once you do, you have a public site where all of your badges and your Superbadges and your status, your Trailhead Ranger status, is listed. And you can take that URL, you can put it on your resume, you can send it to your social accounts. So just make that a part of your personal brag sheet. The other thing we'd like you to do, and this is a little bit more formal, is we would like for you to start listing your Superbadges on your formal resume. So when I have achieved Superbadges, I put them under my certifications, credentials, and education. And this helps your recruiters know that you have actual implementation skills. So we actually do evangelizing among our recruiters and some of the biggest recruiting firms that we know are in the ecosystem. We go in there and we go into those companies and we help the recruiters understand the value of seeing certain Superbadges listed on certain people's resumes. So for instance, if somebody says they're a Salesforce developer, we recommend to recruiters that it would be great if you could see on their resume or on their Trailhead vanity URL if they had Lightning Component Framework Specialist Superbadge or Advanced Apex Superbadge or the Data Integration Superbadge. What's also interesting is that we're beginning to see the other side of the equation come true as well. So now what we're seeing, and I just saw this in a Salesforce developer position posted by a major consulting firm. They said that if you wanted to be a Salesforce developer, you needed to have Platform Developer 1 certification, you also had to have Lightning Component Framework Specialist, Superbadge, listed on your Trailhead Vanity URL. So I do think that employees at this point are beginning to understand how valuable some of these Superbadges are in proving that someone actually has, a job candidate actually has the job implementation skills they're going to need to be successful at certain types of jobs. Okay, so now what I like to do is, I'm going to go a little bit faster. We're going to talk a little bit about some generic tips for achieving any of the Superbadges. And the first one is one that I would like for you to blaze into your brains, is sometimes we have people get so excited about Superbadges, they forget the first note, which we always tell you to create a new, either it's going to be a playground or a DE org. So please follow that very first instruction, which tells you whether or not you need a DE org or a playground, very carefully, and then always make sure that you start a Superbadge in a new one. And the reason is, yeah, it's definitely a little bit on our end in the sense that our check challenge engine isn't sophisticated enough to detect collisions. So we can't distinguish the old work that you did in a playground or in an org against the new work you're doing in a Superbadge. So we really need for you to always use a fresh trailhead or a fresh playground or a fresh org. Now, the second thing is that I recommend for you to read through the scenario all the way and then diagram, and I should have put the word diagram in bold, but I want you to diagram the solution. So instead of going in there and being like, oh, I'm going to start typing away, doing all these crazy things in Salesforce, let's back up a second and just diagram the solution, and don't start coding until you see what the very first check challenge is going to request of you. So always implement these Superbadges in the order that the check challenge wants you to, and don't try to jump ahead to a section that you're excited about and then go back to the thing that the check challenge wanted you to do. Always do it in the order that is recommended by the check challenge buttons. The next thing I would say is don't change the labels. So this has probably bitten a few of you where maybe you had a typo in the label, you named a field or you named a class a certain thing and it wasn't exactly the word that we were looking for. And then you spent like 20 hours trying to figure out what that label change was. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry that if you had that experience, you had that experience. What I would say is copy and paste all the labels. Like, don't even let yourself have the experience of maybe fat fingering something. Just get the words onto the screen or into Developer Console by cutting and pasting. And the reason for that, again, just to give you some information about what's happening behind the scenes, is that our check challenge engine is querying against metadata, and it's doing greps, and it's saying, did this Trailblazer type in this word? And that's not fuzzy logic. We can't know that you meant to type in a certain word. We need to know that you typed in the exact word that we're looking for. So I know it's frustrating and I know it's annoying, but again, we give you the labels, so copy and paste them. Finally, we see some people start and then like 30 days later, and we can see some of this data. We see people starting a Superbadge and then getting demotivated and then starting again. And what I would say is that if you are finding yourself in this position, there is just a ton of motivation out there online. So there are entire Twitter campaigns that the community has started. Sometimes we don't even know that these campaigns are going on, and they are around achieving certain Superbadges. And one of them was, if you go on Twitter and you type in hashtag Lightning Strikes India, the entire nation of India decided that they wanted to achieve 4 Superbadges, the 4 that are related to Lightning Experience. And it was this massive campaign and this massive movement all across the globe to get these Superbadges. So I highly recommend that if you're finding yourself slipping in motivation, to find motivation in the social movement around Superbadges. And then finally, when you get your first Superbadge or any Superbadge, there is a feedback link and a feedback survey. And I personally monitor that Superbadge survey every day. So I'm looking at all of your responses, trying to figure out how I can make things better. And I do want to personally know how I can make things better for you and what new ideas you have. And I'd love to incorporate it. So I'm a little bit over. And there's a lot of other things I could tell you, but I'm over and I want to have some time for your questions. So I will just say thank you. I want to thank you for your attention. It's a gift to be able to speak to somebody and have them hear you. So I appreciate that you gave me your attention today, and I'm looking forward to answering your questions. Again, my name is Jody Gupta, and thank you for joining this webinar.
Thank you so much, Jody. We have two very popular questions, if you don't mind answering those real quick. We have how do our users get vanity URLs, and how can they add them to their LinkedIn profiles, their Superbadge accomplishments?
Oh, okay, that's a great question. So if you log into your Trailhead account and you go into your profile, the way that you get to your profile is click either your photo, but if you haven't uploaded a photo, you'll see a little astro icon. It's kind of like this generic astro ghost icon. Click on that, dude, and then in there you'll see an option for your profile. If you scroll halfway down the screen, you'll see the option to type in a URL. And once you type in some words there, and it should be your name. If your name is taken, then choose something also professional, like don't make it like Banana Cat or something. That's not going to be professional. Make it actually your name or something relevant to your name. And then once you do that, then Salesforce will create a vanity URL for you. And what you want to do with that URL is just add it as a website. So sometimes your social sites will say, what is the website associated with your user account? You can just make that vanity URL the website associated with your account. And what was the second question?
And then how can we link these to our LinkedIn profiles?
Okay, so that's a quick thing. You just are going to take that URL and put it into your LinkedIn account. Sometimes LinkedIn will have options for you to specify a specific website for your social profile, and you can add it there as well.
Well, thank you so much, Jody. This was a great webinar, and thank you everyone who attended, and we will get the recording out hopefully in the next week.
Thank you. Take care.